Okay, so the next study we're going to do is the orange and blue. Okay, orange being the light energy, blue being the cool color that harnesses the light energy, okay? And we are constantly making reference to some sort of cloud structure, right, for those value changes, right, from these light edges, right, the softness and the juxtaposition of that soft atmosphere of clouds and light in relationship to a landscape, which is harder in its graphic form. Okay, so we have our brushes, dryer, colors. I cleaned my palette. Okay, and so the first thing we're going to do is what? Well, we're going to, before we water the surface, I'm going to do my drawing composition. Okay, and so this time I want to maybe emphasize a larger mountain, let's say, to the left side. Okay, the horizon line in the distance. Okay, like that, right? Maybe some more mountains and peaks. Okay, and so forth. Okay, so we're going to do our blue and orange composition, right? And so let's look at these cloud references for inspiration. Okay. Okay. I'm going to, again, establish my light source from the left side. Okay. And maybe we'll put a big cumulus cloud right here to kind of punctuate the composition. There'll be a light edge along there, right? And it'll be darker down in these areas. And we're going to make some lighter, smaller clouds in the distance, like that, right? And maybe we'll put another little cloud like that, open. Okay, and so here we are. There's my composition. Okay. This mountain will be dense, and there'll be some details here, maybe a tree line, right? Maybe a lake there, right? Okay, so the first thing we do is we wet the surface. Here we go. Okay, and we're wetting the surface to create a soft sky. Okay, so now I'm going to mix up my orange. I want to clean up this red a little bit. Right? There we go. So my orange is created with yellow and a little bit of red. And look how delicate that yellow is, right? Okay, so there's my orange. Right? And here we go. I'm going to begin to kind of put the color on, and already getting a sense of the structure of my painting. Okay. Make the horizon line nice and bright there. All right. And we'll bring in those values all the way down to the bottom. Okay. Right. And these are our edges of light along there. Okay. Okay, so we've established the light energy. I'm going to dry this back a little bit. And my first layer of The cool color and the complementary color to the orange is what? Blue, right? So we're going to work with our blue. Work the cool blue into the background to harness the light of the cloud, right? So we have that composition there. So the first thing I'm going to do is work in the background, okay? And I want to work very, very light at first. The first layer is going to be delicate. Right along the edge of that light cloud. I'm working around the clouds, right? Harnessing the light. My paper is slightly wet still, so I'm just gliding that blue in there to create the shapes. I'm working in the distance, right, essentially. I'm working in the way, way, way back. The sky. Defining those shapes. Clouds, right? I'm going to leave the horizon a little brighter. Okay. I'm going to emphasize the landmass a little bit at this point, define it. Okay. Notice how I'm working light. We're always working light to dark. These are my mountains. Nice. All right. These are steep mountains. And so now we're going to soften the edges a little bit where we would like to. On the shadow side of these, and I'm adding my first layer on the shadow side of the clouds. Notice I'm using a very, very light value. Okay. Okay. Right, and my light's above. And slightly to the left. So I'm putting in my shadow areas accordingly. Okay. I'm liking this. Okay. And now I'm going to take the next value of blue and make it a little darker. And so, and I'm letting the watercolor dynamic do its thing. I'm just touching in the paint and I'm putting that darker value into the shadow side of the cloud. Okay. you can see the lights in the painting starting to appear nicely. And I'm always making reference to my image for the structure if I have any doubts to the structure of the values, right? Let's take a look at that, right? So, yeah, so you can see how these light edges, right? Okay. And now we're going to add some value to the landmass to create that contrast. Okay, so I'm going to take the blue, right, and I can even take a little bit of orange in there to create that achromatic, so a little yellow and some red, the blue, and see it creates that achromatic color, right? And I'm going to put in my first layer of color for my cloud. Sorry, for my mountains. I like to create a little bit of a texture there. Okay. Right. And these are steep mountains. This is the first layer. I am anticipating putting in another layer, right, to deepen it even more. And I'm always drawing with the paint to be conscious of the descriptive aspect of the painting. Okay, so nice. I have a nice contrast between the sky and the landmass. Okay, I have a distant horizon. Okay, now I'm going to dry it a little bit more. Okay, so now is where we have an opportunity to darken the values again in the landmass and in places where we feel it's necessary. So I'm going to take a really, and if you notice when you look at the sky, the darkest, when you look at a blue clear sky, the sky is darker straight overhead, and it tends to become brighter along the horizon in terms of various colors. Brighter, sometimes muter. There's no, it's not a strict rule, but I'm working on the underside of the cloud, right, where it's the darkest. So I want to establish some definition there. So it's further from the light, making that achromatic. Okay, push it a little bit to the blue side, and here we go. We can texture. There we go, and we got a nice contrast between the landscape part and the clouds. The cloud area is soft, landscape is dense and hard. And by using a limited palette with the complementary colors, you get an atmosphere of color, right? Nice, beautiful, right? And so I'm gonna let this dry a little bit. All right, maybe add one more level of value on the shadow side of these clouds just to create enough contrast. All right. Working on the underside. Nice dramatic cloud there. Things would be more vivid, darker in value, in chroma, closer to us. Right? Soft and hard. Okay? I mean, some of these edges can be even softer. All right, so our next study is going to be, the color scheme is going to be red being the light energy and green harnessing the light energy, okay? And I'm, again, making reference to these cloud structures to make sure I am understanding that how to approach, right, the bright area and how to apply the cool area, okay, in harnessing the light. So let's go ahead. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I have my waters all clean, I have my palette, it's clean, and my primary colors, my primary color in this case can be red, right? So I'm going to make sure I have enough red on my palette. And I'm going to be mixing the yellow with the blue to create my green, the complementary color, okay? And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw out a composition, okay? So here we go. The cloud movement going from right to left, so a little bit of a movement, okay? To emphasize the composition. So that's going to be one large cloud and then a smaller one here. And maybe another one there in the distance. Okay. And our light's going to be, again, left to right, just to, since we're used to that at this point, no sense changing it up. Okay, so now I'm going to wet my surface. Have a soft graphic effect. We use lots of water. Okay. Alrighty. So there we go. And now we're going to get our red, which is our light energy. Okay. Make sure we got enough there. Okay. And here we go. Okay, and there we go. We can already see the landscape coming about. Okay, so that's our red. Okay, maybe one more shot along here. Okay, I'm going to dry it. Okay, we don't want to dry it all the way, so now I'm going to clean up my palette and quickly use the cool green color to harness the light. Harness it, surround it, okay? Here we go. Work light to dark again, right? So my first value of green is going to be very light. And I'm going to work in the distance. Right? I'm going to create that shape. Large cloud. Okay. Some clouds wisping along the tops of the mountains there. Okay. And now I'm going to take some of that green and punch up some of the blue and give my first layer to those rolling mountains, as we called them. Rolling hills. All right. All right. Very cool. Okay, so now I'm going to dry it back a little bit. I don't have to necessarily dry it 100%, right? So our next application, I'm going to switch to my round brush, my medium round brush. Okay, and I'm going to apply the next level of values, right? So I'm going to deepen it with a little bit more blue, green, right? And I'm going to go right in here and that edge is, the light's hitting it. And there's edges within the large cloud that are getting hit, and underneath this would be pretty dark. Okay, large cloud there. Very cool. First application, and now I'm gonna hit this cloud here. Right, and we had another cloud underneath there. Okay. Right, and these edges can be softened a little bit. You can even pick up a little red as we soften them. Okay, and now let's deepen the mountainside. Right, so you're going to take a little blue and yellow, create that green. Nice dark green. And our first layer of rolling mountains, rolling hills. All right, so look at how there's a nice separation between the soft cloud and the darker, denser landmass. Right, and while the cloud is still wet, I'm going to add some value underneath. All right, I'm going to take a little water and coax it around and soften it. Pretty dramatic cloud there, right? A little chromatic orange along the horizon line there. Okay. And now I'm going to deepen those mountains just a little bit with a dark green. And let's use the medium-sized brush, give it a little detail. I want to get a dense dark green in there. Pretty thick pigment, right? To create that contrast. So the main thing is over here where we have in the shadow area of that cloud, right? Adds a little drama. Another little rolling hill. Very good. Just gonna hit it. Okay. Let's see how that looks dried back. And we have emphasized this cloud a little bit more. It's got a little lost. All right. A little contrast in these clouds, right? Darker underneath. Shot of slightly darker sky. Above. Add maybe a little okay. And you can see how each one of these has a different feel, a different atmospheric, like I said, different atmospheric feel to it, okay? And so the next study we're going to do is the black and white. And the light energy is going to be the white of the page. And we're going to use Payne's gray.